to be in a position to remove life-saving healthcare from a young person, it's just unconscionable to me. And it's happening, and we need to be aware of it. I do feel like we will get through it. I do feel that there are basic human rights being violated here and not allowing young people in particular to pursue and receive the healthcare that they need and deserve to lead healthy, happy lives.
I think this is a good point for education here. What is happening? What care is being denied and why? Or legislation is being proposed to deny? Alrighty, so thanks everyone for tuning into this episode of Find Your Cause. Today we have Brian Wenke, who's the Executive Director of It Gets Better. Brian, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes. All right, so per usual, yes, thank you so much. Per usual, we like to start with the mission of the organizations we're interviewing. So what is the mission of It Gets Better?
It Gets Better. Our mission is to uplift, empower, and connect LGBTQ plus youth around the globe. And we do that in a few different ways. We are primarily known as a storytelling organization, but we also have a ton of incredible education programs. And we also focus on community building at a global level. All of this to ensure that LGBTQ plus youth can see and envision a future for themselves and in some cases, allow us to help them pursue it.
All right. And I've already wrote down like 3 rapid fire questions, but before we do, Brian, why is It Gets Better something that you've dedicated a large portion of the past few years to?
Sure. My God, I've been with the organization now over 10 years,
yep.
Which is, I don't know, it just seems like it's gone by very quickly, and as it does when you hit my age, but everything goes by a lot faster than you hope. But when the organization was founded in 2010, which was 5 years before I landed on the scene, it was a movement that was designed in response to a suicide contagion among LGBTQ plus youth. And it was still very much focused on that, like anti-bullying, anti-suicide. And that was something that I had to deal with. I had a tumultuous experience in my youth in the process of my coming out, and there weren't nearly as many resources as there are today for LGBTQ plus young people. And I just wanted to be part of something that filled a gap that I wish was filled when I was young and coming to terms with my sexual orientation and identity. So that's what drove me. And because it's nonprofit, my entire career has been based on these connecting with causes that have some sort of meaningful intersection with my life. And this was a big one. And hoping I can do my little part to make sure that there are no youngsters running around feeling like they have no hope and no support.
Yeah. So back then, when you mentioned the inception of the organization about 15 or so years ago as a response to hopefully getting rid of suicide related to the experiences of youth, what was the experience then, and how has it improved? And is there, I don't know if there's data that shows the improvement, but are you seeing an improvement due to, of course, a lot of the programming advocacy that you guys have? But talk me through the experience back then and how it's improved now, and what are still the big gaps that you guys are trying to close?
Sure. There are organizations out there that are very focused on crisis intervention. And I just want to be clear, It Gets Better was never about crisis intervention. There was a moment going back to the early days of the organization where there was a slate of highly public deaths from suicide, Seth Walsh, Billy Lucas, and the founders of It Gets Better, they were like, if we had 5 minutes alone with any of these kids, maybe we could have imparted the wisdom just to get them through to the next day. And so there really wasn't a way in. Like, how are we going to get in front of young people to deliver this message, to show that they are not alone, to show that there is a huge community out here with many people that have had shared experiences, but found a path to a better time. And so they took to social media and they took to YouTube, which at the time, I jokingly say this, but it was a time when YouTube was like known for cat videos, right? And it was the first time that social media in many ways had been leveraged to create some sort of social impact. And that one video with our founders, Dan Savage and Terry Miller, sharing their personal experiences and asking other people to share theirs led to this incredible viral moment that gave birth to our organization. And the sentiment in the early days of the organization was all about, you are not alone, life can get better, and we're going to prove it by sharing these stories that validate that sentiment. We know that there are tons of people out there that had a rough time coming out, navigating high school. I don't know anyone who has gotten out of high school unscathed. It sucks. It's a challenging time for everybody. But young queer kids have a little bit of a harder road to hoe. So, but yeah, that's what ultimately gave birth to our organization. And that's what we have been known for, primarily among millennial audiences. Yep. But we've evolved significantly over the years. And I would say the upcoming generations like Z and Alpha don't necessarily know us from that original campaign. They know us through the leadership development activities and the civic engagement opportunities that we are offering young queer people who want to make a difference now through programs like Youth Voices, which is our ambassador program, through Changemakers, which is our grant making initiative for youth-led projects to create more inclusive communities. But we've been at it for a while, and we are still, when you talk about whether or not it's gotten better, yeah, I would say it has. I would say that suicide is a very difficult issue. It's incredibly complex. Unfortunately, we're starting to see some uptick on that front. But at the same time, there are more young people coming out now than ever before. People might look at the current moment with all of the anti-LGBTQ plus legislation that's circulating around the country and say, this is not a great time, but we've been here before. The community ebbs and flows with crisis. I grew up in the 80s, in the middle of the AIDS crisis. That was a significant moment that led to a lot of progress and a lot of change that might not be fully understood today. But we'll get through this moment. The community is incredibly resilient. Young people are resilient, but I have a lot of confidence that we need friction in our lives to understand what's truly valuable and to fight for it. So yeah. I do think it has gotten better.
Yeah. But
overall,
still have a ways to go, I feel like. Say you're sitting down with somebody that is in high school or that is being bullied, and or maybe even somebody that is potentially on the brink of committing suicide. Very serious conversation. Sitting down with them, if you're able to have a one-on-one conversation, what would be some of the things that you talk them through? Is it like this? You said you guys are focused on storytelling, but I feel like, especially nowadays, there are a lot of people that are very coming out. I feel me personally, over the past 10, 15, 20 years, I have seen a lot more openness towards that community. So is still storytelling the solution of talking to a young kiddo that is being bullied for this and really going through a hard time, just saying storytelling is a route and using examples, or are there anything else that you're using new now to connect with maybe the younger generations?
I think I've had a lot of people have asked, how does this video save lives? And I'm like, this is not what I would prescribe for someone on the brink of a crisis situation. Yeah. But we really try to target upstream to get in front of young people before there is a crisis. Yep. Because if someone is in crisis and I have an opportunity to sit down with them, we are not crisis intervention at It Gets Better. We just want to make sure that no crisis happens, because life is tough. The world rarely rolls out the red carpet for anyone. Let us help you navigate it and show you some ways that you can control your experience. Yep. But if someone's on the brink, I'm going to sit with them, and as long as it takes, and maybe find some additional resources like actual crisis intervention organizations like Trevor Project and just be there and listen. I think it's very hard suicide is such a personal thing. It is an ultimate form of control, and it seems like an easy solution, but it is not. It is damaging. It leaves a trail of really hard times behind. And so I would hope that we could get in front of kids before something like that happens, because when you're young, you don't feel like you've got your parents, you've got school, you've got all of these forces that are like telling you what to do and caging you in many ways. But there are ways that you can exert some control over that experience.
I like that, control your experience. What are some ways that people can feel like and take more control over their experience to because I do feel like it's probably an amalgamation of so many stressors in life that it's not just one specific event that causes you to want to. It's constant pressure over long periods of time. But yes, I'd love to hear about how you define controlling your experience.
Yeah, to your point, there's pressures associated that are external, and then there's internal pressures that we place on ourselves. And then when you're talking about being an adolescent, when hormones are running wild, we tend to be more impulsive when we're younger. And that's not a good combination, right? When you get older, that impulsivity wanes a little bit as you start to understand how things work. But when you're young, I think we take more risks than anybody around us wish we would. But when you talk about taking control, the way that we focus on it at It Gets Better is we know that connecting with your community, connecting with peers, getting involved in your community, and I'm not just talking about the LGBTQ plus community, I'm talking about your community, wherever you are, and finding ways to plug into that world in productive and meaningful ways. And there is a huge positive trade-off when you have opportunity to access communities that look like you, speak like you, want to do things like you do. And so we try very hard to put young queer people in those situations where they are going to grow because of the nature of the environment that they're participating in. So that's where Changemakers comes into play. Our grant making initiative for young LGBTQ plus emerging leaders who want to do something to make their community more inclusive and accepting. And we have a wide range of projects that we fund, from community gardens to gender and sexuality alliances to queer proms to inclusive libraries. And it's all fun stuff as far as I'm concerned. But what's more important to me is not necessarily whether or not the community garden is beautiful and well executed. It's that these young people are learning the process of working collaboratively with people around them to make something happen, and then sharing in the awards of successfully completing an initiative. And I hope that for the young people who aren't self-actualized, who are still struggling with who they are, who aren't out and open and ready to contribute to the community, they can see these other folks who are out there being shining examples that even when you're young, you can do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. I really like the philosophy you mentioned about not only people that are in the LGBTQ plus community surrounding themselves with people that are also in that community to experience and maybe to find mentors or to see that there is hope if you're feeling a little bit more hopeless. Like, people are still living and thriving through life. You also mentioned coaching them and having them be great at whatever community they're in currently, which could be different from the LGBTQ plus community. And I feel like in the age of technology with social media, it is almost like preventing us from interacting with communities that are different from our own. Just like the algorithms just forcing you down what you're comfortable with or what you're typically supposed to. So having programs that take you outside of your typical community, I think, is a huge value. And on the flip side, people that are not a part of the LGBTQ plus community, in the same respect, maybe integrating themselves with other communities like the LGBTQ plus community. So all that to say, like, if I am somebody that has never interacted with somebody in the LGBTQ plus, sorry, I keep it's a long abbreviation. What would be some of like the reasons why you would say and challenge people that aren't or that don't typically cross paths with that community to do? I think it goes both ways.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time. There's a lot of polarization even on the political front. To your point, algorithms love to put folks in a box and drive you to folks that look like you in the spirit of maybe that's what they want, maybe that's what this person wants. I think they're trying to get people to enjoy the platforms that they're on. But I think one of the challenges that we have right now when it comes to issues around LGBTQ plus people is I believe that even the community has some responsibility in how this has happened, but we've become monolithic and we've become this experience that somehow rivals all of our other identities and experiences. Because I think when you talk about an LGBTQ plus young people and you label them as LGBTQ plus, like that immediately puts them in a bucket. And we love, as human beings, we love to put things in buckets. It's just easier to process like that. But we don't know that LGBTQ plus youth are still youth. They experience the same things that everyone else in their age bracket is experiencing. They have the same desires. They worry about the SATs. They worry about all of these other things, these intersectional experiences that I feel don't get as much credit. And so when you say to me, like, how do people who don't generally engage with this community? I'm like, it's not like black and white like that. You are probably engaging with queer people every day and you just don't know it because you don't know them through that queer identity. You know them through their workplace identity or their school identity or whatever. And I think we need to honor the complexity of human relationships and just our human experience. And I think a lot of what even nonprofits in my space do, like we lead with this very specific picture of what it means to be queer and it's all consuming. And I think we've lost a little bit of the through line of what it means just to be human.
No.
That's maybe more philosophical than
no, that makes 100% sense. That makes 100% sense. You also mentioned the policies in the legislation that has not taken a positive turn recently. For some reason, and this is probably me again not being as ingrained in the community, but I feel like it is in a better state than it might be in, which is weird. So talk to me about the evolution of the anti-LGBTQ plus legislation, where we're at currently and where we need to go.
Oh, that's a big question, right?
Yeah, I know.
So over the last few years, there have been hundreds of anti-LGBTQ plus bills that have been circulating. And a lot of these bills have been focused on the trans community, specifically healthcare, gender affirming care. And it befuddles me, right, that this has become such an issue. I am a subscriber of science and I have my own beliefs outside of that. But at the end of the day, I always come back to science and what medical professionals and all the professionals that have studied the biology of our existence, I'm going to put my faith in those people to say what is and is not right. And granted, it's an evolution. Things change. Things that were acceptable 30 years ago are not acceptable today, but I still put my faith in science. And a lot of these bills, I can't help but feel are just fodder for political discourse and to rally a base of people that really don't want to understand what it means to be trans and to be in a position to remove life-saving healthcare from a young person. It's just unconscionable to me. And it's happening and we need to be aware of it. I do feel like we will get through it. I do feel that there are basic human rights being violated here and not allowing young people in particular to pursue and receive the health care that they need and deserve to lead healthy, happy lives.
I think this is a good point for education here. what is happening? What care is being denied and why? Or legislation is being proposed to deny. Yeah.
So there are like gender affirming care bans that are circulating. And so what this means, it can cover a wide gamut. And this is not my expertise. I follow along, but it's things like something as small as hormone blockers, hormone treatments, things that have been proven acceptable for even non-trans communities. Hormone blockers have been used for a long time, and it buys a young person time while they're trying to figure out the path that they want to take or need to take. And it's things like that that are being denied. And it's forcing families to have to explore other options, heading to other states that do allow that kind of treatment, or in worst case scenarios, like leaving the country. And to me, I don't understand why legislators who are not medical professionals get to dictate what is and is not appropriate healthcare for young people. I've never understood why that's acceptable.
Yeah, I've seen again, also not an expert. I've seen some of the headlines though, and I feel like the headlines are more associated with the age that should be allowed and shouldn't be allowed. Is there any, have you seen any medical research is it an age thing that's being prevented? Like anyone above or under 18 is not allowed, but once you turn 18, it really doesn't matter. It's your choice. I think those are some of the headlines that I've seen recently, and it's more the age cutoffs.
There is definitely an age distinguisher with a lot of these issues. Again, I am not an expert on all things because there are so many and they are all nuanced. Yeah. But I think what is also frustrating about why, when you talk about parental rights and education, that is a big issue right now. And for some reason, parental rights and how their children are cared for is another issue that somehow is acceptable to delve into. And when it comes to age, there are some circles that are like, my kid went to school and a boy and came home a girl, as if a young person, a minor, could actually leave school grounds and get medical procedures done without the input of a guardian or parent. So there's like this twisted tale of what young people have access to. And it's just not the case. I don't know many minors that are out there actually having surgeries for people who are diagnosed with gender dysphoria. There are steps that need to be taken. There's therapy involved. There are all of these stage-gated processes that a young person has to navigate to get approval to do certain things to their body. Yeah. And I would argue that anything that is surgical in nature, which is a lot of what politicians are focusing on, typically don't happen until someone is older, an adult, and so forth.
Gotcha. So those stories are being weaponized by one political party as to the reasoning and the logic as to why this legislation should be in place. Yeah.
What it is, it's a battle between logic and emotion, and you have a community that sees trans people as a threat. They see it in terms of mutilation of youth, and these are not realities. Young people are not mutilating their bodies in the spirit of fully embracing their trans identities. It is a very challenging and involved path that they have to pursue to fully realize who they are and who they want to be. And there's this appeal to an emotion, again, going to school, a boy coming back, a girl. It doesn't happen like that. And we have all of this science, we have lived experiences, but when you're in this debate, nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear the science. No one wants to hear the logic. And then the people who are spouting out the science and logic don't want to hear the emotional appeal, which is very much driven by false perceptions of this entire experience. I don't know. I think it's really tough. We have young people that we have worked with. We have trans people that we've worked with that are genuinely fearing for their lives. And I find it unconscionable that the adults in the room can't exercise a little empathy and understanding and try to collectively to understand what young people are going through, and instead choose to be prescriptive based on a very myopic view of a given situation.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for going on that tangent with me. I think there's a little education, that I needed as well. So that was great.
There's always more to learn, and
Always,
there are
yeah.
great organizations out there that are knee deep in all of this stuff. Lambda Legal, for example, is very much out there fighting for the rights of young trans people.
Yeah. It gets better. Let's dive into some of the programming focuses that you have. You mentioned storytelling, you have educational programming, you have community building programming. What, maybe 10 years ago when you started, what did the programming look like then, and what has it grown to today?
Sure. We were primarily a storytelling organization. And because of the success of the initial campaign, we are the leading LGBTQ plus nonprofit on YouTube, Tumblr, Twitch, and the largest LGBTQ plus youth-centric nonprofit on TikTok and Instagram. And we leverage those resources as best we can to constantly push out affirming content, validating stories as we have throughout the entire existence of our organization. But we also use that as like a catchment tool to pull young people into our ecosystem so they can learn about the other programs that we have available for them, like our Youth Voices program, which we're about ready to launch a recruitment campaign for the next cohort this fall. But Youth Voices, it's a cohort of 10 young people from across the country, ages 13 to 18, that want to up their game in media literacy. They want to know how to hone their stories, and they want to tailor their specific form of activism to create positive change in the world. And so they come to us, we train them, and then we give them opportunities to engage with journalists, to tell their stories on our platforms, to engage with our brand partners. And so it's an opportunity to really up your skills in the leadership development space. And the other one is Changemakers, which we just closed our proposal cycle for the next season, which we've got a lot of really great, exciting projects. We have grants in nearly every U.S. state except one, and it's driving us crazy. So we have gotten grants into Florida, into Alaska, into Hawaii, into Montana, but we cannot get into Nevada. And for whatever reason, like there's just Nevada is the outlier. If we could get Nevada, that means we will have gotten grants in every single state across the US. And now it's like my team is just, we're going to get it. We're going to do it. If we have to get in a car and drive to Nevada and get it,
knock down doors. Yeah.
I don't know why it is. So these are great projects. Like they're not just like queer proms and inclusive libraries. These young people are putting together programming for teachers and educators to learn about the LGBTQ plus experience and how to be more inclusive in classrooms. There's such a wide array of projects, and there's some really cool young people out there doing some incredible stuff. And I don't know where you were when you were like 16, but I certainly wasn't looking at how I could give back to my community and how I was like, I want my car. I want my freedom. Yeah. I was your average, I don't know. I guess I look back, I say it fondly. I was just like a nobody, just trying to make my way in the world, not trying to make waves. But
try to fit into the groups that you want to hang out with and like all the normal stressors. Yeah.
Exactly. But these young people are just, they talk circles around me. Like I am in my 50s now, and I'm not okay with it yet, but like these young people, they give me so much hope for the future, because like I know these are the ones that are going to be taking care of me and developing policies that impact me when I am at the tail end of my life. But like these kids are great. So yeah, like Youth Voices, There will be a cohort opening up for the fall. That's a paid opportunity, by the way. We give a little bit of a stipend for that. And then Changemakers, those are grants of up to $10,000. So
Yeah.
we've given out about 1.6 million up to this point for about 170 grants across the country.
Wow.
So.
Wow. I'm guessing just organizationally to continue operating for the past 10, 15 years, obviously getting support and fundraisers and grants yourselves to be able to maintain operations. A lot of that process of securing a lot of that funding is associated with like sharing the impact and the data of the impact that you've had. How have you been able to convert like social media, which is kind of hard to convert that into, like you said, like how did this video save a life? It's more than that. It's everything combined. It's over time, how many people have gone through the programming, over time, the reach our social media has had. How are you guys working on measuring that impact?
So my team, I will say jokingly hates me for this because if there is something that can be measured, if there's something that is quantifiable that can be measured, I will measure it. And we have this growing list of, there's like maybe 60 measures that I track, ranging from site traffic and site demographics and everything in the digital space to a lot of qualitative assessments that we get from actual participants in our programs. So like we do surveys before and after an experience for Youth Voices and for Changemakers. And obviously Changemakers has like a grant reporting process. And so all of that combined creates this like very rich set of data that, we leverage to fundraise, but not all of our partners have the same priorities. I think a lot of our partners, especially those that are more familiar with the early days of the organization, understand the sentiment. They understand what is behind everything that we do, and that is enough. And then we have some that love more information than frankly I care to give sometimes, but I will do it because they should know. And I'm very proud of those numbers. And I'm very confident that It Gets Better. It is one of the organizations out there in our sector that really stands by the side of young people day in and day out. We know young people beyond the crisis and the disparities that they have the threat of encountering, but we know young people, and I love talking about it. And I'd like to think that has helped us generate the support that we've gotten. And a lot of our donors keep coming back year over year. We've had donors that are committed to us for 10 plus years. And it's like a family at this point. But lots of data. I love it. I'm addicted to it. My team hates it because I'm like, guess what, y'all? You get to track something else this year.
Here's data point 61 that you got to add to the list. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. Looking to the next 10, 15 years, what do you hope to see looking back? Fast forward 10, 15 years.
So one of the things because it's a great question, and I rarely get asked that question because I feel like our work is measured in decades, not in days, months, or even a year or two, because the experiences that we're offering young people today need to be nurtured and they need to grow over time. And who's to say that participating in a cohort of Youth Voices doesn't have some sort of long-term effect? So our theory of change is based on positive youth development, and the most significant impact and outcomes from those kinds of initiatives, those kinds of strategies are in the long term. So I would say that in 10 years from now, if I had to look back at our work, I want to see all of the Youth Voices in incredible, meaningful lives. And that could be career focused. It can just be having a family. It can just be living their best life, single in New York. I don't know. I just want to see a trail of really cool young people that have grown up into incredible adults. And I would like to think that, and one thing that most people don't really know about It Gets Better is that we have a presence in 19 countries outside of the US. We have We have affiliates in Canada, in Mexico, in Chile, in UK, and they're all doing incredible work. And I would love to see that network grow. I want to see programs to support LGBTQ plus youth in every single country that is open to giving their young queer citizens a fighting chance at a life worth living. And eventually, I'd like to see us out of business. My goal here is to put us out of business. I don't want to live on in perpetuity. I don't know if it's going to be 10 years, but I would like to see maybe less and less of a need for an organization like ours in 10 years.
Yep. 100%. Which is such a really cool component of this sector. This nonprofit sector is like literally the majority of us are working to not have to fill the gap or solve the problem that we're currently seeing in the world. So yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing. Brett, is there anything that you want to leave us with before we wrap up? I feel like we've covered a lot.
We have covered so much ground.
Yeah.
I have really enjoyed our conversation. So thank you for including me in your work. It's been great.
And then engagement too. So people that are listening that want to get engaged, what type of engagement do you look for and where could they find you?
The first thing I always say when it comes to engagement, I would say fundraising is always nice. But if you want to learn more about our work, you can learn all about us on our website at itgetsbetter.org and every major social platform at It Gets Better. There's a lot of stuff out there. Comment, like it, share it, do whatever you can to put our resources in front of a young kid that has a lot to gain from it. And I'm serious about leaving comments, and I'm serious about feedback. We watch that stuff religiously, and we involve young people in a lot of our strategic decisions about our work and how we put ourselves out there in the world. So we love feedback. So that's one way that people can participate in our work in addition to fundraising. But I will say, if you want to see us shine, we've got a lot of programming coming up in June. It's going to be Pride Month. So in the digital space, we have a lot of programming on Twitch. Go check us out, twitch.tv/itgetsbetter. And if you are heading to your local Pride events, we send our young ambassadors to a lot of Pride events around the world. So keep an eye out for our street teams out there spreading good cheer and goodwill.
Yeah. Wow. Brian, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate going over a little bit. And we'll be cheering from you guys here over at Greater Than 0%, and honored to share the work that you're doing. And good luck with everything. Hopefully you're out of business, like we said, in 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
But either way, if not, we'll be cheering you guys on.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Appreciate it.
Thank you.